अस्सलाम वालेकुम डियर स्टूडेंट्स। इस लेक्चर में हम स्मूथ मसल के बारे में बात करेंगे, इसकी कंट्रैक्शन के बारे में बात करेंगे। हम इसके टाइप्स भी डिस्कस करेंगे और साथ साथ वी विल डिस्कस द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द स्केलेटल मसल एंड द स्मूथ मसल। इससे पहले कुछ लेक्चर में हमने स्केलेटल मसल के बारे में बात की थी, अबाउट देयर मॉलिक्यूलर मैकेनिज्म, अबाउट देयर डिफरेंट एलिमेंट्स लाइक मायोसिन, एक्टिन, ट्रोपोमायोसिन, ट्रोपोनिन। तो इन सब के बारे में आज हम स्मूथ मसल की बात करें। क्या ये सारे के सारे स्मूथ मसल में भी प्रेजेंट होते हैं, और अगर इनकेस इनमें से कोई जो मॉलिक्यूल्स इफ दे आर एब्सेंट इन स्मूथ मसल, तो उसकी जगह पे रिप्लेसमेंट पे यहाँ पे कोई और मॉलिक्यूल है या नहीं, या ये वो फंक्शन स्मूथ मसल में नहीं है। तो ये डिटेल जो है हम यहाँ पे इस लेक्चर में डिस्कस करेंगे। सबसे पहले बात करते हैं कि स्मूथ मसल है क्या चीज। सो स्मूथ मसल जो है, एज कंपेयर टू द स्केलेटल मसल, लाइक द कार्डियक मसल, इट इज आल्सो इनवॉलंटरी मसल। और ये इसकी पहली कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है। इसकी जो डिफिनेशन है पहले बुलेट में, सो दीज ऑल आर इट्स कैरेक्टरिस्टिक, इट इज इनवॉलंटरी, वी कांट स्टार्ट और वी कांट स्टॉप इट। ये हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं होता, यानी हम अपनी मर्जी से इसकी फंक्शन जो है इसको न स्टॉप कर सकते हैं न स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं। सो दिस इज नॉट अंडर आवर विल, इट इज इनवॉलंटरी। These are non-striated muscle, unlike the cardiac muscle, unlike the skeletal muscle. They are non-striated muscles, and these are not branch muscle, and they are uninucleated. Skeletal muscle हमने डिस्कस किया था, they are multinucleated, but the smooth muscles they are uninucleated. So these muscles they are known as the smooth muscle, and because of these non-striation, these muscles are known as the smooth muscles. So as compared to the skeletal muscle, these are controlled by the autonomic nervous system. Specifically, the vagus nerve has the most contribution from that parasympathetic and the gut and the respiratory, cardiovascular system, the GIT system. इसके साथ साथ जो है sacral से भी कुछ ना कुछ contribution है, but mostly that is controlled by the autonomic nervous system, both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. These smooth muscles they are mostly found in the visceral organ except the heart. Visceral organs, what we mean by the visceral organ, visceral की जो लफ्जी माने हैं इंटरनल की हैं, और इंटरनल organ से मुराद हमारे, या visceral organ से हमारे वो organs हैं, हमारी बॉडी की वो organs which are enclosed in a cavity surrounded by a double serous membrane, like the cavity, the thoracic cavity. The other cavity is the abdominal cavity, which is also known as the peritoneum, and the next is the pelvic cavity or the perineum. So all the structures within these three cavities, the thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, and the pelvic cavity, these organs they are known as the vasal organ. So all these vasal organs, muscles are smooth muscle except the heart, which is the cardiac muscle, which is striated muscle, and which is again involuntary, but that is striated muscle. The characteristic of the smooth muscle, they are spindle shaped, which means they are tapered at both ends and they have increase in diameter in the middle. They are elastic. They can be stretched to a high variety whenever there is need of distension, so they just stretch to a very extended way. Their contraction is involuntary, as we have discussed previously, and they are 1 to 5 micrometer in diameter, while 20 to 500 micrometer in length. Now, there are two types of smooth muscles. These smooth muscles of each internal vasal organ, they vary from one another in different aspects, including the physical dimension, organization into bundle or sheet, response to different stimuli, characteristic of innervation and function. We will discuss that what is the difference between these two muscles, but the main difference is in the characteristic of the innervation and the response to different stimuli. And we will discuss that how they are different from each other in sense of stimuli and sense of innervation. सबसे पहले हम बात करेंगे पहले टाइप, द मल्टी यूनिट स्मूथ मसल, which are less in number and they are present in very few sites, very few areas. Why they are known as the multi-unit smooth muscle? Because यहाँ पे हर एक सेल को अलग सा मोटर न्यूरॉन जाएगा, एंड दैट्स व्हाई हर एक सेल एक अलग along with this motor neuron will be considered as a unit. So बहुत सारी यूनिट्स जो हैं ये एज अ होल वर्क करेंगे. That's why they are known as the multi-unit smooth muscle. Multi-smooth muscles comprise of discrete and separate smooth muscle fibers. Now, why they are known as the discrete and separate? Actually, these इंडिविजुअल सेल जो है मल्टी यूनिट स्मूथ मसल में, ये इनकी दे आर इंक्लोज्ड, ये इनकी इर्द गिर्द जो है एक लेयर बनी होती है विच इज मेड ऑफ द प्रोटीन, द कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स एंड द कोलेजन. एंड ये लेयर जो है इसको दूसरी सेल से सेपरेट करती है, इससे कंडक्शन भी पास नहीं होती, एंड दैट्स व्हाई एवरी सेल हैज इट्स ओन motor neuron. So the cells, they are independent of each other. They operate independently. They contract independently. They are not depending from the innervation or the current from the other neighboring cells. Every cell has its own motor neuron. So they are known as the discrete and separate smooth cells because of those membrane-like, which is made of the collagen and the glycoprotein. Theory muscle, that is independent, they operate independently, and they show similarity to skeletal muscle because they are often innervation by a single nerve ending. Otherwise, they are different from each other, but this one thing is similar between the skeletal muscle and the multi-unit smooth muscle, that everything that has own nerve ending. Furthermore, the outer surface, they are covered by a thick layer of basement membrane-like substance, which is a mixture of fine collagen and glycoprotein that help insulate the separate fibers from one another. जो अभी हमने बात की, तो हर एक सेल जो है ये एक thick layer of basement membrane-like substance जो है ये इर्द गिर्द इसकी होता है, and that's why one is discrete from the other, they are separated from one another. Their control is mainly exerted mainly by the nerve signals. Where these muscles are found? So these are found in the ciliary muscle of the eye, in the iris muscle of the eye, and the piloerector muscle that cause erection of the hair. The next type of the smooth muscle is the unitary smooth muscles. इनको sensatial smooth muscle भी कहा जाता है, क्योंकि जितने भी वेजरल ऑर्गन्स हैं ये यूनिटरी स्मूथ मसल से बने हैं, इसलिए इन यूनिटरी स्मूथ मसल को वेजरल स्मूथ मसल भी कहते हैं. इसको सेंसिटिव स्मूथ मसल क्यों कहते हैं? बिकॉज दे वर्क टुगेदर इन अ सिंगल यूनिट. दैट्स वाई सेंसिटिव का मतलब ये है कि दे आर वर्किंग इन अ सिंगल यूनिट, एक ही यूनिट में टुगेदर. They, when working together, is known as the sensitive, and that's why they are known as the sensitive smooth muscles. Why they are known as the unitary smooth muscle? Unitary से मुराद ये है कि they are contracting and relaxing as a one unit togetherly. So unitary muscles contract together as a single unit. That's why known as the unitary smooth muscle. The word unitary does not indicate them being a single muscle fiber. They are separate cells, but they are all working together. Their cell membranes are adhered to one another at multiple points by gap junction, and that is one of the reasons why they are working together. Each cell of them, they innervated by the neuron, and then the action potential that spread from one cell to another, and that from another to another and another and another through these multiple point connections between these two cells, physical connection known as the gap junction. And that is the reason why they are working, they are contracting together, they are relaxing together for their ions to flow freely from one muscle to another so that they contract together. A contraction in one muscle fiber causes contraction in the next with the help of these muscle fibers, and the cycle continues with the help of gap junction. The control on unitary muscle is exerted by non-nervous stimuli, and that's why they are known as the myogenic stimuli. इनका जो unitary multi-unit में, वहां पर we can see हर एक मसल को अपना अपना एक इनर्वेशन आ रहा है. सो वहां पर जो स्टिमुलाई है ये नर्व स्टिमुलाई है, जिसको हम कहते हैं न्यूरोजेनिक स्टिमुलाई. जबकि यहाँ पर we can see here the nerve is only innervated this only one muscle, and then these every muscle is connected by these junctions. These are known as the yellow, these are known as the gap junction. So सिर्फ एक सेल जो है ये इनर्वेट होता है न्यूरॉन से, बाकी मसल सेल जो है इससे इनर्वेट होंगी, यानी इस सेल से इनर्वेशन इधर जाएगी, इससे इधर जाएगी, इससे इधर जाएगी, इस तरह. सो दैट्स इनके लिए फिर स्टिमुलस जो है ये नॉन नर्वस है और इसको हम कहते हैं मायोजेनिक stimuli. So multi-unit, they have neurogenic stimulus, and for them they contract and the myogenic stimuli. And where the examples are, some of the examples where these unitary smooth muscles are the syncytial smooth muscle, are the visceral smooth muscle. They are present in the gut, the gastrointestinal tract, the small intestine, large intestine, stomach, esophagus. They are present in the bile ducts, the uterus, the ureters, and the blood vessels, large blood vessels. So this is the difference between the multi-unit smooth muscle and unitary smooth muscles. If we talk about the innervation and nervous stimuli, so each muscle fiber is innervated by a motor neuron in the multi-unit smooth muscle cell, and their stimulus is neurogenic, as we discussed in the previous slide. On the other hand, the unitary or the single unit smooth muscles, there are only a few cells that are innervated, and then the activity spread via gap junction from one cell to another cell, and that's why the stimulus for these unitary smooth muscle contraction is myogenic, which means the origin of that stimulus is from muscle, not from the nerve. So this is non-nervous stimulus are known as the myogenic. If we talk about the independence of these muscles, so as in the multi-unit smooth muscle, every cell is connected and innervated by a separate nerve motor neurons, so that's why they connect independently. They are not depending on one another. On the other hand, only few cells they are innervated by the neuron, and then the potential that spread from one to another and from another to another, and that's why they are depending on one another. They are contracting together as a one unit. That's why they are depending on one another. Gap junction almost they are absent in the multi-unit smooth muscle, and if they are present, they are very few in number. On the other hand, many gap junction for the ionic current speed, a single cell may have 4 to 5 or more than that gap junction depending on the neighboring cells. Location, as we have discussed previously, the multi-unit smooth muscle, they are going to be present in the iris of the eye, erected pili, the large airways, the large blood vessels, while the unitary smooth muscle, they are present in the GIT tract, the uterus, bladder, and small blood vessels. Unitary smooth muscles, they are present in the small blood vessel, not the large blood vessels. They are present in the small blood vessel, and the large blood vessels, the multi-unit smooth muscle is present. So correct this thing. We discussed in the previous slide that the multi-unit smooth muscle, they are present in the small, and the unitary, they are present in the large. So the correct one is the multi-unit, they are present in the large blood vessel, and the unitary smooth muscle, they are present in the small blood vessels. Now we will talk about the chemical basis of the smooth muscle contraction, and here we will compare them with the skeletal muscle, the chemical events which occur in the skeletal muscle and the chemical events which occur in the smooth muscle. So just like the skeletal muscle, the actin and myosin, they are both are present. Similarly, chemical characteristics similar to those of the actin myosin filament and skeletal muscle, but यानी इनकी जो जिस तरह एक्टिन में बाइंडिंग साइट होता है मायोसिन की लिए, मायोसिन में बाइंडिंग साइट होती है एक्टिन की लिए, और मायोसिन में क्रॉस ब्रिजेस होते हैं और वो क्रॉस ब्रिज के जरिए एक्टिन के साथ कनेक्ट होते हैं और इसके बाद जो है कंट्रैक्शन होती है थ्रू द हेल्प ऑफ दैट एटीपी क्लीवेज, जिससे एडीपी बनती है इनऑर्गेनिक फॉस्फेट और सम एनर्जी, और यही एनर्जी जो है इसकी कंट्रैक्शन के लिए यूज होती है. तो ये तमाम इवेंट जो है ये दोनों मसल में सिमिलर है, स्मूथ मसल में एंड स्केलेटल मसल में, लेकिन कुछ डिफरेंस मौजूद है. तो डिफरेंस ये है कि स्केलेटल मसल में वहां पे कैल्शियम अटैचमेंट जो है ये ट्रोपोनिन के साथ होती है, और ट्रोपोनिन जो है फिर ये ट्रोपोनिन टी को एक्टिवेट करता है जो ट्रोपोमाइसिन को फिर वहां से बाइंडिंग साइट से हटा देते हैं, और जैसे अनकवरिंग हो जाती है वहां पर क्रॉस ब्रिज ऊपर जाके अटैच हो जाता है। स्मूथ मसल में यहाँ पे ट्रोपोनिन नहीं होता, ट्रोपोकिनिन की जगह यहाँ पे काल्मोडोलिन होता है। दैट इज एक्चुअली यूज्ड प्रोटीन यूज्ड फॉर द अटैचमेंट ऑफ कैल्शियम। इसी तरह ट्रोपोमाइसिन जो है ये भी एब्सेंट होता है स्मूथ मसल में। ट्रोपोमाइसिन स्केलेटल मसल में प्रेजेंट होता है when the muscle is in the resting stage, so it covers the binding site, the myosin binding site and the actin, and when there is contraction then the tropomyosin is uncovered and the myosin they are attached to the binding site and the actin. The contractile process is activated by the calcium ion and ATP generated to ADP to provide energy for contraction. ये exactly similar होता है to the skeletal muscle, but difference ये है कि calcium ion skeletal muscle में troponin के साथ, troponin C के साथ attach होती थी, and the smooth muscle they are attached to the calmodulin. और जो ट्रोपोमाइसिन की जगह जो है फिर यहाँ पे एक एंजाइम होता है जो काइनेज होता है, द मायोसिन लाइट चेन काइनेज जो है ये एक्टिवेट होता है बाय द calmodulin which then contract and then activate the myosin head to attached by the cross bridge into the actin. Major difference between the smooth and skeletal muscle, they are in their physical organization, excitation, contraction, coupling, as we have discussed in the previous slide, control of the contractile process by the calcium ion, वो भी हमने डिस्कस किया किस तरह दोनों में कैल्शियम आयन की कंट्रोल जो है ये डिफरेंट है। ड्यूरेशन ऑफ कंट्रैक्शन ये भी आगे हम डिस्कस करेंगे कि स्मूथ मसल जो है ये इनकी ड्यूरेशन कंट्रैक्शन जो है स्लो होती हैं लेकिन ज्यादा देर के लिए होती हैं, यानी दे आर फ्रॉम सेकंड टू मिनट्स होती हैं, जबकि स्केलेटल मसल की कंट्रैक्शन क्विक एंड रैपिड होती हैं बट दे आर इन सेकंड्स। amount of energy required for contraction usually skeletal muscle चूंकि quick and rapid contraction करते हैं तो इसलिए वो high amount of ATP use करते हैं। on the other hand smooth muscle चूंकि slow contraction करते हैं, that's why they use very little ATP for their contraction. तो फिजिकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन तो ऑलरेडी हमने डिस्कस किए हैं कि वो स्ट्राइटेड है, ये नॉन स्ट्राइटेड होते हैं। एक्साइटेशन कंट्रैक्शन कपलिंग भी हमने डिस्कस किया कि वहां पर थ्रू द इस तरह की स्केलेटल मसल में एक्शन पोटेंशियल आ जाती है वहां पे न्यूरॉन में, और न्यूरॉन में फिर ये एक्शन पोटेंशियल दैट काज द ओपनिंग ऑफ द कैल्शियम चैनल। कैल्शियम चैनल जैसी न्यूरॉन के न्यूरॉन बटन या न्यूरॉन एंड में जैसे न्यूरॉन टर्मिनल भी कहा जा सकता है, the calcium ion rush inside the neuron and then they activate the vesicle which contain the acetylcholine. Acetylcholine they rush towards the presynaptic membrane. वहां से जैसे ही पहुंच जाते हैं so through the exocytosis the acetylcholine they just released into the synaptic cleft. वहां पे फिर ये acetylcholine जो है ये पोस्ट सिनेप्टिक मेम्ब्रेन तक जाते हैं। पोस्ट सिनेप्टिक मेम्ब्रेन पे वहां पे they are attached to the acetylcholine receptor. ये acetylcholine receptor जो है basically they are actually sodium channel होते हैं। We can say that they are acetylcholine gated channel, यानी normally they are closed, जैसे ही acetylcholine यहाँ पर अटैच हो जाते हैं तो वहां पर ये ओपन हो जाते हैं and the sodium ion from the synaptic cleft which are abundantly present there through the simple diffusion जो है passive diffusion, the sodium ion they rush into the muscle cell and which lead to the depolarization there, जिससे एक्शन पोटेंशियल क्रिएट हो जाता है और फिर वहां पे these are in the ये पहुंच जाते हैं to the three tubules to the each and every cell और फिर वहां पे हमने डिस्कस किया था कि टी ट्यूब्यूल पे डिहाइड्रोपायरिडीन जो है ये एक वोल्टेज सेंसिटिव प्रोटीन होता है जो एक्टिवेट हो जाता है बाय दिस एक्शन पोटेंशियल बाय दिस पॉजिटिविटी व्हिच इज बीइंग काज्ड बाय द सोडियम आयन, दिस डिपोलराइजेशन ये इस सेंस कर लेता है और फिर ये वहां पे कैल्शियम आयन जो सार्कोप्लाज्मिक रेटिकुलम है उनकी चैनल जो है उनको फिर एक्टिवेट करते हैं और कैल्शियम जो है ये सार्कोप्लाज्म रेटिकुलम की जो टर्मिनल सिस्टर्ना होती हैं उनसे कैल्शियम रिलीज होती हैं इनटू द सार्कोप्लाज्म और फिर जाके ये ट्रोपोनिन सी पर ये कैल्शियम अटैच होते हैं और फिर बाकी कहानी तो ऑलरेडी हम डिस्कस कर चुके थे। दिस इज द एक्साइटेशन कंट्रैक्शन कपलिंग स्टोरी ऑफ द स्केलेटल मसल। यहाँ पे कहानी थोड़ी सी जो है अलग होती है। एक तो सोर्स ऑफ कैल्शियम जो है ये अलग है। सोर्स ऑफ कैल्शियम जो है स्मूथ मसल के लिए ये सार्कोप्लाज्मिक रेटिकुलम नहीं बल्कि एक्स्ट्रा सेल्यूलर जो सेल के बाहर जो कैल्शियम आयन होती हैं जैसी गैप जंक्शन के जरिए एक्शन पोटेंशियल पहुंच जाती हैं, सो दे ओपन द गेट फॉर द कैल्शियम और फिर कैल्शियम जो है दे रश इनसाइड द मसल सेल और फिर ये जाके अटैक टू द कलमोडोलिन और कलमोडोलिन पे आके जो है ये मायोसिन लाइट चेन काइनेज को एक्टिवेट करता है जिसके जरिए फिर मायोसिन एक्टिवेट हो जाता है, फिर ये क्रॉस ब्रिज के जरिए अटैचमेंट हो जाती है और मसल कंट्रैक्शन हो जाती है। सो दिस इज द डिफरेंस स्टोरी बिटवीन द एक्साइटेशन कंट्रैक्शन कपलिंग बिटवीन द स्केलेटल मसल एंड द स्मूथ मसल। बाकी कैल्शियम आयन के बारे में ड्यूरेज ये तो सब हमने डिस्कस कर दिया। आगे हम और भी डिटेल से डिस्कस करेंगे व्हेन वी विल डिस्कस द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द स्मूथ and the skeletal muscle in the debilitated form. So these are the cells, the smooth muscles. They are uninucleated. We can see these are each and every cells. They have only one nucleus. These cells, suppose they are innervated by the neuron, and then that action potential or that impulse that spread from one cell through these direct gap junction. Um, and that is the reason why they are working together in a single unit like a syncytium, and that's why they are known as the syncytial smooth muscle. There is no striated arrangement for actin and myosin filament. Actin filament, they are attached to so-called dense bodies. Dense bodies, they are in the replacement of the Z disc. Z disc, they are also absent in the smooth muscle. Skeletal muscle में Z disc होते हैं और two consecutive Z disc के दरमियान which is known as sarcomere. तो वहां पे Z डिस्क के साथ ये एक्टिन फिलामेंट अटैच होते हैं। यहाँ पे जो Z डिस्क के बजाय जो है यहाँ पे डेंस बॉडीज होती हैं एंड डेंस बॉडीज जो है उसके साथ जो है ये एक्टिन फिलामेंट दे आर अटैच होते हैं। सम आर अटैच टू द सेल मेम्ब्रेन एज वेल, अदर डिस्पोज इनसाइड द सेल, सम ऑफ द मेम्ब्रेन्स सो इसी तरह स्ट्राइडेड नहीं होते जिस तरह के स्केलेटल मसल में होते हैं। So there is non-striation of these actin filament. Other disposed inside the cell. Some of the membrane dense bodies are adjacent cell bonded together by the intercellular protein bridges. The force of contraction is transmitted from one cell to the next through these bonds. Myosin filament, they are interspread among the actin filament and their diameter more than twice of the actin filament. They are thicker than them. That's why they are known as the thick filament. And their number is 5 to 10 times as many actin filament as myosin filament. These are the dense bodies. These are the actin, thread-like structure. In the middle, this is the myosin. You can see here. This is again the dense body. So there is no Z disc. The actin filament, they are attached to the Z disc. This is the cell membrane, and we can see here that some of the actin filament, they are also attached to the cell membranes. You can see here again some of the cell actin filament, they are attached to the cell membrane in this example. They are also attached here to the cell membrane. If we talk about the arrangement, the actin filament radiating from two dense bodies, the ends of this filament overlap a myosin filament located midway between the dense bodies. This is the myosin present in the midway between two consecutive dense bodies, and the actin filament, they are attached to these Z displacement, the dense bodies. Dense bodies of smooth muscle serve as the same rule as the Z disc in the skeletal muscle. Smooth muscle cells can contract as much as 80% of their length, less than 30% in skeletal muscle. This is another difference, that the smooth muscle has more elastic, as we discussed in the characteristic of these muscles, that these are elastic, they can be stretched. So if we talk about the skeletal muscle, so they can stretch up to 30% of the original length, but the smooth muscle, they stretch almost 80% of their original length. Smooth muscle can contract as much 80% of their length, while 30% is in the skeletal muscle. Although most skeletal muscle contract and relax rapidly, most smooth muscles, the contraction is prolonged tonic contraction, sometimes lasting hours or even days. And that's why they are have slow contraction but long duration, and they are using the less amount of ATP. Therefore, it is to be expected that both the physical and the chemical characteristics of smooth muscle or skeletal muscle contraction are different. And this is the difference between the smooth and skeletal muscles. Physical organization, the spindle muscles is their single nucleus, there is no striation. On the other hand, skeletal muscles, they are cylindrical cells, they are long, they are multinucleated, and they are striated. So this is the comparison and the physical organization. Excitation, contraction, coupling, they are released from the calcium released from the extracellular fluid in the smooth muscle, and then they used calmodulin to activate myosin. And the skeletal muscle, the calcium ion are released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and then they are attached to the troponin C, where they regulate the contraction. Calcium control of contraction, calcium bind to calmodulin, activating the myosin latching kinase, while in the skeletal muscle, the calcium bind to troponin, causing tropomyosin shift to expose the binding site. Duration of contraction, the smooth muscle, they have slow onset and prolonged contraction, second to minutes, or even up to the hours and days, while the skeletal muscle, they have rapid onset and short duration, millisecond to second. Energy required for contraction, smooth muscle, they have low ATP consumption, energy efficient, can maintain tone with minimal energy, while the skeletal muscle, they use high ATP for their contraction, so there is high ATP consumption for rapid and forceful contraction. Thank you so much. Hope it will be very clear that what is the difference between the smooth muscle and skeletal muscle, and what are the different types of the smooth muscle and where they are present, and what are the characteristics of the smooth muscle. Thank you so much to all of you.